Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth Podcast. I'm Jack Smith.
I'm Srikar.
And I'm Anish Gupta.
Srikar, I'm so sorry.
It's all good, man. It's all good. We'll get into it.
I'm so sorry.
We'll talk about it.
If you can't tell, we're going to recap the conference championship games in this one. Unfortunately, the 49ers, they lost, unfortunately, to Sean McVay, right, Anish? And the Cooper Cup and Los Angeles.
Yep.
Out here representing LA. We're out here representing LA, and we had the miraculous game, the Bengals completing the comeback against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. We're gonna go over all that in this episode. We're also gonna touch on Tom Brady. Is he retiring? Is he not? How did ESPN mess that up so badly? And then we're gonna talk about some of the front office and head coaching hires this week, including what the New York Giants have done, what we think the Vikings could do, what's happening down in Vegas. We got a whole lot of stuff to go over in this episode for you guys. Let's start with the first conference championship game that we had last week. It was Chiefs, it was Bengals in Kansas City. Chiefs got out to an early lead. The Bengals came back, and now they are in the Super Bowl. Cincinnati is in the Super Bowl. Thoughts, takes? Let's get into this game.
You want me to go on this one, and then you take the Niners first? You want me to do that one?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
Yeah, because I'll let you rant on that one. I know you want to get it out first. First of all, I just found this really ironic. The last playoff game the Chiefs played without Mahomes, which was in 2017. I think I told you guys this, right? It was the same thing. They blew a 21-3 lead, literally the exact same way to Marcus Mariota. And that's when I think people realized in the Chiefs organization, hey, we need a little change at QB. Let's go for this guy out of Texas Tech, number 15. But this is the first game I can really say Mahomes is choked. The second half was horrendously bad. I think he got a little bit too comfortable and he started second guessing himself. I think that's the biggest reason for his collapse, because some of the throws were just ill-advised and questionable, like the Eli Apple one. I mean, you didn't target DeMarcus. You targeted DeMarcus Robinson once the entire game, and then in overtime, you target him twice. Like the first two balls that you get on your first possession, you do that. Something wasn't right? And I think it boils down. I know I'm starting off with the Chiefs here, but I think it also boils down to that 5-second play call on second and goal, right? So, I think Srikar and I kind of argued about it a little bit, right? About whether or not it was a bad call. I think the call was okay. The execution was bad, right? Jack also mentioned it in our chat earlier yesterday that the primary read was Kelsey. So if you don't hit that, right? And yes, Tyreek Hill's running this type of option flat because they love doing the split option. It's called like a G9. You don't there's not enough time to hit that. Right? You should be knowing that in your head. You should have a mental clock, right? Just throw it down on the ball. Or if you're Tyreek, just drop it. Literally just bat it down. Because you go into the half at least satisfied that you scored on all 4 drives, right? But now you had 3 drives perfect, and then you had a 4th one that was also replicating the same thing because the Bengals weren't changing their zone coverage, playing the too high, and Mahomes was just dotting it up. They finally got a stop, and they carried that momentum, and they were the ones who adjusted. The Chiefs did not. The Bengals did. Adjusted their coverages from zone to tight man, and they are a heck of a job to the Bengals defense. And then also, I'm seeing a little bit too much Bengals, posts and feed on my feed, and all these Joe Burr, Joe Shiesty, Joe Brrr, whatever, with the rolling of the R's, like it's cool, I'll admit, Burrow won me over this year too, but it was calm down a little bit. But what a game from those guys to, go in there at Kansas City in one of the hardest environments. Like I was telling them, right? This is a different environment that you're playing in. And for him to, on third down after third down, whether it was running the football, right? Using his legs, escaping Chris Jones of all people, or throwing it to, Tyler Boyd along the sideline. I mean, this guy, I don't know if Srikar mentioned this, but I think this team and Joe Burrow was what we expected the Browns and Baker to be. I think you might have said that. Someone might have said that, but I saw a graphic on it, and I thought, hey, maybe that is an interesting point. But for Cincinnati, this is just, this is incredible. I loved it for the NFL, for them to represent the AFC when nobody remotely thought about this. To represent the entire conference when you've got Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson. This was just crazy. I'll maybe leave it to you guys before I give my second thoughts, but yeah.
It all circles back to that goal line situation at the end of the first half. Now, I will say, I do kind of agree with Anish now that it's more on the execution than the call itself. It was just an ill-advised completion, but right after that, Mahomes completely fell apart. He went 8 of 18 for 55 yards, 2 interceptions. By any QB standard, I mean, it was terrible, but for Mahomes, like, that was just downright awful. And I do agree that this is the one, game where you can definitively say it's on Mahomes, and he choked because they got a great performance from the defense. They held Joe Burrow in check, and they still blew an 18-point lead. Like, it's just kind of hard to fathom if you're a Kansas City fan. But now they get into an offseason where you've got Tyrann Mathieu up, Orlando Brown, Charvarius Ward, Melvin Ingram. They're not going to be able to bring all those guys back. And especially when you're paying Mahomes that much money, it's going to get tougher over the years. It's going to be an interesting offseason, and this loss is definitely going to stick with the Chiefs. But for the Bengals, man, oh man, what a win. What a win. I could not tell you, if you told me the Bengals would be in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, I would give you the most confused reaction ever. Like, how? How could you have thought? But Joe Burrow, man, that guy has got grit. He has attitude. He is bringing, a new identity to Cincy that's very much needed. This team plays with so much confidence and swagger, and I love to see it. I'm definitely going to be rooting for them in the Super Bowl. We'll get into why later, but proud of the Bengals, man. They got the job done.
Yeah, I mean, after last week against the Bills and the first half of this game up until that 5-second mark, I was really regretting ever saying that I thought the Chiefs were going to have a Super Bowl hangover. I mean, they looked like an even better team than they've had the last 2 years. They were practically perfect on offense. 21 straight points to open the game against the Bengals, and I thought it was over. Like, it just looked like this is the Chiefs team that we've been expecting all year, and you're not going to come back from this. Like, they're going to roll, and they're going to put up 45-plus points again and get a win, and it just didn't happen. Going to that 5-second play, so it was an RPO. So there's already, 1 or 2 decisions baked into that, whether you're deciding to run or you're deciding to go to Kelsey. And so Tyreek is the third option. I mean, that bubble, it was a bubble flat. And
no. So that was my mistake when I initially saw it. So it's a split. It's a spread option, option. So he comes from the side.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a flat. So it's not a bubble. That was my bad. But yeah,
so he's the third option. And honestly, I went back and watched it too on the All-22, not on the broadcast angle. I think it's a little more obvious. That was a touchdown. I mean, honestly, they had a touchdown, and it was Mahomes' throw that was a little bit offline, and that caused, Tyreek to have to turn around a little bit. But I think if the right throw was there, that was a touchdown. And ESPN was reading the article today. Their win probability chart said go for it. The analytical decision was to go for it in that situation. And honestly, apparently, it could have been a touchdown. That's the last part. I came out of yesterday thinking, it's more in the execution. I just think, you can't look to Tyreek there. You don't have the time, but it was a touchdown with a good throw. So it was the analytical decision, and with a good throw, they have a touchdown. And that was on Mahomes, and for the rest of the game, everything else kind of was too. I want to give a lot of credit to the Bengals defense, switching from too high, which is what the Chiefs have struggled with all year. That's what's been giving them their fits, making Mahomes stay patient, not giving them the big play. They rotated in after Mahomes was, dotting up their too high, like you said. They went to one high, and that's, what the Chiefs are infamous for absolutely obliterating. It's what the Raiders, what they absolutely killed when the Raiders did it this year. And Mahomes couldn't do it. I mean, they played aggressive coverage. They forced him to make a couple mistakes, got to overtime, and I think that's when that Super Bowl hangover hit. A couple incompletions and then the pick. The Bengals defense really, really, really locked up the Chiefs. I want to go back, though, to the end of regulation. That last drive, the Chiefs drive, they're in the goal line, or at the goal line, basically, in the red zone. And you're thinking, if they score a touchdown here, game's over. There's no chance. There's not going to be enough time for the Bengals to come back. If they kick a field goal, it's going to overtime. And then that last third down happens. I want to take you guys back there, get your guys' thoughts on that as regulation wound down.
Yeah, so, I mean, we saw throughout the game a similar play, right? Where Mahomes threw that touchdown to Kelsey. And we've seen him do this throughout his career. It's what made him a household name. So when I saw that, and I saw they kind of spied and they kind of spread out, Hendrickson, and I believe they had Hubbard as a free rusher kind of coming in.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great call by the Bengals defense. But to go back to also like what you were saying, what led to that play too is just they were playing thirds, and also the whole point of too high is to say we're not giving you the big play, Chiefs. You got to methodically drive. The Bengals were and the Chiefs played conservative because they were just throwing it short all the time. That's why on the final drive too, they were just methodically driving down the field. They just didn't have any plays that they wanted to go and score quick. They did not want to give the ball back to Burrow. But on that 3rd and goal, I think that's kind of the position they were just putting themselves in. They, I think it was 3rd and goal from the 9, right?
Yeah.
Because they got pushed back as well. I think that play call, I'm not mad at it just because you want to send everybody out just for a chance to throw it. But that fumble would I jumped out on my seat.
I was so worried.
That would have been one of the worst fumbles.
Not worried. I
in
was
history.
scared.
Yeah,
The worst part is the fumble was bad. Him getting sacked was bad. He had 2 touchdowns. He had Kelsey over the middle, and when Kelsey cleared, he had Pringle still sitting in the middle. He didn't throw either, and I think it was.
Well,
Bill
I think that's
Barnwell's
just because of the
article
pressure too, right?
he's legit. He had time to make the throw, and we obviously know has the arm to fit it in there. There was, the Kelsey one, it would have been a tight throw, but it's one that he's made 1,000 times. The Pringle one, he was pretty wide open. It was the indecisiveness is going to haunt Mahomes his entire offseason. I'll go back and send you guys the video. It was.
I think it just
wide open.
I think it just comes down to him second guessing himself throughout that game, right? Because after that pick to BJ Hill, right? You could see it in his eyes. This guy was he lost all his confidence in that game.
Well, I think he must have been flustered. No one has gone to 1 high against the Chiefs all year because they know they torch it.
Yeah,
we got to give props. We got to give props to Lou Anarumo. Yep. I mean, that was as good as it could have gotten for them. And this Bengals defense, it got better as the season went on, and in the playoffs, they've just turned it up a whole notch. I mean, you look at the Titans game, you look at this game. It's an incredible job by him, and he's able to
led by Jesse Bates, who had a down year in the regular season, but I think he's had the best playoff performances from a safety, a playoff stretch from a safety since probably Polamalu back in 2009. This guy has made play after play after play, and obviously the one that tipped the ball to Von Bell. I mean, that was perfect coverage, right? Yeah. It was tight. It wasn't any hand checking that could have been called. But this also goes to show, right? Quick touch on the coin toss thing, right? I mean, the Chiefs tweeted, "Hey, it's over. We won the coin toss." I mean, I think I was just more shocked at what the Chiefs did with that possession. I mean, again, the throws to Robinson, what are you doing? And also, I get so mad with the Chiefs sometimes because in all 6 of their losses, right? I think they had 6 total on the year. They just stopped running the ball. I just get so mad at it sometimes because it could, with a quarterback like this guy, right? They just rarely do play action. And I think Mahomes would be so good off it, right? Because he has the mobility, he has the arm talent. And Reed just stays in this spread option thing, which works. I'm not saying, it doesn't, but sometimes if they're they're daring you to run it sometimes. And I just get so, frustrated with it. McKinnon was very efficient on his touches, even Derek Gore throughout the year. But, I mean, do you guys I want to touch on Joe Burrow maybe and give you guys a question, if you guys don't mind, right? So everyone's throwing out the rankings and stuff, right? I mean, this for me, when I said when they were down 3-21, I said if this dude were to somehow come back and win this game and even get to the Super Bowl, because obviously we're gonna talk about the preview later, but I mean, I think this is the greatest second season, from a QB maybe ever, and
ever.
One of the most improbable type of seasons for a QB to just go, or actually Mahomes will probably
Mahomes
be,
and Lamar.
Yeah.
I don't know about Lamar. That I thought about it.
Most successful season, sure, but best season.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but Burrow still had 4,600 and I think it was 36 touchdowns. I'm pretty sure something around that. But I mean, just because I think for a quarterback, right, that this is now the whole mantra and whole model that teams are going to look after, right? You take a guy, you try and build him around, and second year, boom. That's now the thing in the NFL. Second year, that's the type of jump they expect. But I mean, has Burrow vaulted himself in the top 5 to already get to a Super Bowl before Allen, before Lamar? I mean, where would you guys put him?
One spot ahead of Herbert. I said, whoever goes.
Yeah.
I said once the last kind of stretch of the season, whoever ends up going further, and Herbert never even made the playoffs. That's the guy who's going to get my nod.
I still think Herbert is more talented.
Oh,
Right?
absolutely. I
You
still
can't-
think
you can't
I
put him
still
above
think that
Burrow.
Herbert is probably the better quarterback. But if I'm
I think
gonna
he has
like
more
rank them
potential.
right now,
Yeah, you have to.
Burrow's
like,
been more successful. Like,
exactly. Yeah, so I think he's 5, right? I think you'd put him 5. I mean, including Brady still in your rankings, I think you'd put him 5.
yeah, the interesting question,
Yeah.
which I saw a lot this week, of Mahomes and Allen are the 2 best quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna put Mahomes 1, but I'm not putting Allen 2.
yeah,
I think
I still-
you have to go
He'll go Rodgers too.
Mahomes,
still yeah.
Rodgers / Brady, taking up 2 spots.
Allen.
Allen, Burrow, Herbert.
Then Burrow. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's your
Like,
consensus
I'm
top
trying to
6.
think like who I go with after that is the bigger question.
Well, yeah, at least we have a consensus top 6 in the NFL.
Yeah, I
But
think absolutely.
Rodgers and Brady literally are like their futures are up in the air. So we could have the top 4 quarterbacks consensus all be in the AFC.
And all be under 26, 27.
No, it's 26. Mahomes is 26.
26, yeah.
Yeah, so and Burrow is a 24-year-old rookie. I mean, hey, maybe that and now I feel like also just the way he came into this league and what he's doing, it's like, for example, it's created a pathway for Kenny Pickett, who, right, was a 5th year and he's like 24, right? So it's like you see these guys just create models for future quarterbacks. Like I feel like just the impact of Burrow this year is going to go so beyond whatever happens in the Super Bowl. I think that also was, another takeaway I had.
I mean, successful players tend to recreate success in other places. Like,
Of course, yeah.
it just tends to be what happens. Why do you think so many New England free agents go on to be great players elsewhere? It's like, if you've seen that you can succeed, you're far more confident. I think confidence is something that is like completely undervalued in a draft prospect or in free agents or just in sports in general. If you're
Yeah,
confident,
exactly.
you can do anything. Like,
Imagine,
Burrow
yeah.
might not
Right.
have the arm talent that Justin Herbert has, but when he's throwing the ball confidently, he can make all of the same throws. Like maybe he can't make the one getting
Maybe
tackled.
not on the far hash.
No.
but- maybe not.
Maybe
but-
not that one. Maybe not the specific one against the Giants and down to the goal line being tackled from behind. But you know what I mean. And that's
Right.
what Burrow's been. He has a chance in the Super Bowl to become the first player ever to win a Heisman, a national title, and a Super Bowl, and would all be in the span of 3 years. And no one's done that in the span of a career. That is just
3 seasons, right? 3
it's
seasons.
unmatched. It's like a territory that we have never seen. Burrow is just cut from a different cloth, a different pedigree, whatever you want to use.
It's his
He's been-
first full year too as a starter, technically.
It's
Like,
Yeah, it is.
right? I
Yep.
mean,
And think about, I went back to look because I really didn't want to look at what I had the Bengals going this year. I was really nervous for my record projection for them. I predicted them to go 4-13.
all right, yeah, I had him 6-11, so
They're in the
back.
Super Bowl. Like that's
All I know is I had them last in the division.
I did too, and I think everyone did. Like if someone
Yeah.
didn't, I want to see that. Like I don't think I would believe.
I don't
it.
think no, like even okay. One of our good friends on the pod, Jared, he had him like 7-8 wins. Like so, like even Bengals fans didn't
even
expect
the bias.
Yeah.
Even the bias didn't have them
they
making the
didn't expect
playoffs.
it.
Yeah, like I mean,
They're in the-
no
they're in the
no
Super
one
Bowl.
could have seen something. Like I looked at this roster and I thought, okay, yes, they have some bright young pieces, but for them to collectively bring this group together and do this and accomplish this is just, I feel like, it's not being talked enough. I feel like people are just looking at, Joe Shiesty and whatever. It goes beyond that, I feel like, just for this specific team because, as good as Burrow's been playing, you got to look at Jamar Chase, you got to look at Joe Mixon, you got to look at Boyd, Higgins, Osama, right? I like this team collectively as a unit, and the offensive line stepped up that game. I think they played.
Yeah.
I think Burrow
Especially
only
the
got
second
sacked-
half. The second half.
Yeah, I think he only got sacked once or twice.
I mean,
like
the Chiefs put pressure 47% of the time
yeah,
in the first half, and I think it was like 20% in the second half. So like
No,
they were not great in the first
They did
half.
their
But
job.
yeah, but this is a unit that allowed 9 sacks the game before, and everyone was saying, "Oh my God, imagine what Chris Jones is gonna do." It was a kudos.
And we're gonna see that in the Super Bowl again with the Rams pass rush.
yeah,
We're gonna see those same
Yeah.
takes flying. I mean,
I'm not
Yeah,
sure
that's
I've
just how
ever
it is.
seen a team have so much youth that has worked together to play well. Like you've got a couple of young players, like that's a young piece. They're shining right there. Micah Parsons on Dallas this year, Chase Young last year for Washington. But like, and you see the graphics. Like obviously this offense is so young, but like the amount of young players on this team coming together and like legitimately leading the team. I would say probably they're 3 best players on offense.
What experience do any of their players have? I literally can't name you one that's had, or at least a key player or a starter. I'm thinking of I'm going through all this like
Well,
like
I
Jermaine
mean,
Pratt, like Jesse Bates, like none of these guys. I mean, Chidobe Awuzie, like none of their starters have had this type of experience that most playoff teams or teams that represent the damn conference has.
I think
So-
I think we got to give a lot of credit to what college football has done to prepare these guys. I mean, with college football evolving the way it has, I mean, you look T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. Those are three guys who have won a national championship and know what it takes to go out and win a championship. Like that.
And then Mixon Oklahoma, right? So he's been in some big games.
Been in big games, yes. Not won a national
Yeah,
championship.
he hasn't won one. Yeah.
Right.
But you want to
crazy.
switch it over? You guys want to switch it over to the game that I enjoy?
Not yet. Let's one last question, and it's about the Chiefs. Like, where do you go from here? Like, how do you move into this offseason?
Look, first of all, you want to go? You want to answer it?
Right, I'll keep it short. I mentioned it before, but you got to look at the free agents you got to bring back. And right now, I'm looking at Tyrann Mathieu and Orlando Brown. Those are two guys you need to bring back. Orlando Brown, I don't know. He was great this year. Tyrann Mathieu, he is the leader of that defense. You got to bring him back. It's just, do you have the money? Do you have the space for that? And do you really have the money to look out of house? Can you look at other free agents and bring them? I don't know. I feel like this Chiefs team, it's very tough because with Mahomes, they're always going to have a shot. They're always going to be in the conversation. But the team around Mahomes, I really wouldn't be surprised if year after year they just get worse and worse. But I feel like Mahomes is good enough that he can cover that. He can cover that to an extent. But in the playoffs, it can get exposed. So I would look long and hard at re-signing Tyrann Mathieu and Orlando Brown. I know that Orlando Brown might be the choice for the franchise tag because Tyrann Mathieu, it's tougher to see that happening. But a lot of questions.
Yeah, I'm not worried about this team virtually at all. I am not. Sorry. Like, this is a team that is just too talented. They're going to figure it out with cap space. And again, we've tried saying that this team is not going to come back. They are too talented. And I will say this. I think this is a team, though, playoff-wise, they can easily be pushed down as not the big brother of the AFC, though. I will say that, I give you. But in terms of regular season and, maybe not winning the division, nah, I'm still all in on.
They'll win the division.
Yeah, I mean, unless Herbert somehow takes another level and
Aaron Rodgers goes to Denver.
Yeah, or something like that, right? But
I still see Mahomes winning that.
Yeah,
division.
I mean, I'm not worried about this team even for the long-term future. Like, Mahomes is going to keep this team relevant for the long foreseeable future. Like he has just, I think it sucks because if he had won the Super Bowl this year, I would have confidently said he has the best 4-year start in NFL history. And I don't think it would have been, that close. I mean, Brady would be the only close one, but Mahomes had the stats and the wins. But despite that, he still have hosted 4 conference championships at 4 years as a starter. Like, it's not like this guy, had some type of drop off. Yeah, he had a bad half, but I'm not worried. I even with all I've heard about the cap situations too with the Chiefs. I even heard it about the Bucks and how that should be the reason Brady's going to leave. Like, they'll figure it out.
I think it's more not about relevancy, but about getting it done in the playoffs. Because think about it, years after losing their Super Bowls, the Falcons and the Seahawks stayed relevant, but neither of them have won a Super Bowl since then.
Well, the year after, yeah, like I mean the Seahawks Falcons year after, and then they were done.
Like, the Seahawks have competed outside of this year. They've competed for the NFC West every year since that Malcolm Butler interception. They've just not been able to get over the hump. Like, do you see that as a possibility for?
Yeah, like, could this be a similar? Remember we talked about it like very first episode on the pod where I said like
exactly,
Matt Ryan and Wilson,
and they've come up small in big moments before too. So I mean, who knows?
I mean, I feel like this is the first time. Like, I mean, okay, the Super Bowl, I feel like they were just schematically outmatched. Like, that I think just happened, right? Like, it wasn't like a choke job or something. But you're right. Like, this, and the problem is they play in a loaded AFC that's only going to get better, right? I think the NFC is just, it used to be a powerhouse, and now I think it's just up and down. but the AFC is so competitive, and like we're like not even. I think we talked about this a couple episodes ago. We're not even factoring in other teams that could have jumps, right?
Yep.
Like who knows if Zach Wilson becomes a star, even Trevor Lawrence, right? Like I don't even know. Like Davis Mills could do some crazy stuff with the Texans. Like there's so many young pieces and potential in the AFC, right? In the NFC, it's a lot different. And Mahomes, right? Everyone's still gunning for them, right? Like, I mean, I want to save it, maybe for next year, like a hot take on the Bengals, because I do. Let's just say I have some interesting, take for them. That's not the best coming into next year. I think a hangover is looming for them, but like for the Chiefs, people are still gunning for them. Like people still respect them.
I mean, that's the thing though. They're still like, no matter even the fact they still have not won a Super Bowl the last 2 years. They're still in the crossfire. Like they're still in the crosshairs of everybody in the AFC. I don't know.
Yeah, like they're still the big brother.
I wonder what that will do to a team mentally to come up that short 2 years in a row. You fix the entire problem. I think that lost you the Super Bowl. You come up with maybe the best offensive line left in the playoffs come championship weekend. It's one of the strengths of your team, and you still lose. And you were maybe a coin flip away from losing the previous week. I wonder what that's going to do to a team mentally. I wonder what that's going to do to Mahomes. I hope he doesn't let this stuff eat him up. I hope he doesn't, go back, watch the film, see he missed Travis Kelce, and let that eat him up the entire offseason. Because, like, you're right. He's maybe had the best 4-year start in a quarterback's career in NFL history. This team is still arguably the best team in the NFL. Mm-hmm. I hope it doesn't turn into that Seattle situation, the Atlanta Falcons situation. Because at this point, like, while we can say, oh, but they were so close, like that is the entire point, is that,
like imagine, close, right, all the prep. Yeah, like all the prep that goes into a year, right? Like months and months of training and then months and months of playing these games, right? And to go that far 2 years in a row, like same for Buffalo too, honestly, right? Yep. But I think Buffalo's looking at this like,
Buffalo's going to look at this like Mahomes after his MVP year, where he didn't get the ball back, and then he goes on and wins the Super Bowl. Like this is something that Mahomes really hasn't dealt with on back-to-back years. He obviously wasn't successful this year, or wasn't as successful as he wanted to be after losing the Super Bowl last year. Now doesn't even make it to the Super Bowl. Like I don't know, I'm a little bit nervous.
Yeah, I think other teams are gunning for him. And
I'm just saying, if have that target on their back if they have Mahomes.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if we see Bills Chiefs next playoffs at Buffalo,
I'm taking Bills.
Yep, I would.
That's what I was thinking this year, and it did not work.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I think it just has to be at Buffalo. That's why.
By the way, this game absolutely clinched that the overtime rules won't be changed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
It's a tough sight. It's a tough sight. Let's get into 49ers and Rams. Srikar, take it away. You can rant first.
So, trying to think of a way to start this. I handled this better than I thought, just because I'm used to just bad stuff happening to me in the playoffs. But man, it hurts. It just hurts to think about it, And it's one of those things where I don't think it's on, one single player in general. I think it's on a multitude of different things. But first off, kudos to the Rams. They're a great team. They definitely deserve to be in the Super Bowl. Kyle Shanahan got outcoached by McVay. You want to hear it? There it is. McVay outcoached him. Both coaches were pretty mediocre, but it is what it is. Let's talk about Jimmy Garoppolo for a second. If you had only watched the podcast starting from the beginning of this year, you would think I hate Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't hate the guy. I think he is a class act. I think he is a professional in every sense of the word. And I think he's a great guy. And last night after the game, maybe about an hour after the game, I went to bed and I just started watching Jimmy Garoppolo highlights starting from this past game and then going all the way back to 2017, his first drive against Seattle. And I don't know, I'm going to miss him, man. I'm going to miss him. It's something that's, been just lurking throughout the season, and it was expected that this was going to be his last ride as a Niner, but he brought us out of the dumps. He brought hope to me again as a Niner fan. He brought hope to a lot of Niner fans. And honestly, if this was, his last run, then what a way to end it. He made the NFC Championship, and it was a great run by a very resilient team, and one that had a lot of chemistry, a lot of pride, and a lot of heart. So I got to give Jimmy his props. But when we needed him most, he wasn't there. I kind of said it too. The run game needs to be going for Jimmy to be going, especially in 2021. The Niners rushed for 50 yards on 20 attempts, so Jimmy was brought to the forefront. He went 16 of 30 for 232 yards with 2 touchdowns and a pick. And with that pick being a full-on Carson Wentz and the last throw he will ever throw in a 49ers uniform. So he is, one of, the reasons that we ended up losing this game. Jaquiski Tartt. Let's talk about Jaquiski Tartt.
Okay. Go.
I don't know. 2011, it was Kyle Williams and his fumble in overtime and his just troubles throughout the game. I'm not going to say that Tartt dropping that pick is akin to that because there were still 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Anything could have happened. We could have went 3 and out in the next offensive possession. But you got to think, after that drop pick, I feel like the momentum was heavily shifting in the Rams' favor because obviously after that, you had the Jimmy Ward unnecessary roughness. And Kupp and OBJ were just killing us all night. And that's another thing. D'Amico Ryans, he's done a fantastic job this year, but he couldn't adjust. He couldn't adjust in this game, unfortunately. But he is going to be coming back for another year, so hopefully he'll be able to grow from this. But that Tartt pick, I was so dumbfounded watching it on my TV. And I was in a state of just... One part of me was just asking, why does this have to happen to me? And then the other part of me is just like laughing because I don't know. It's just a classic Niner thing to happen in the playoffs. But I'm glad Jaquiski Tartt is handling it well. I'm glad he talked to the media after. He's also another professional guy. Like I wouldn't have had the guts to go up there and talk to the media and give as honest of an answer as he did. So I guess shout out to Jaquiski Tartt. I mean, yes and no, but it's very demoralizing. It's for a fan, yes, but now you go into an era with Trey Lance that's just what are you gonna get? And I do want to keep my optimism and I do want to be happy and all, but I really wouldn't be shocked if we barely make the playoffs again this year. I really wouldn't be shocked. I think Trey Lance is definitely gonna have his growing pains. I think he's not going to be, a Mahomes, a Rodgers, whatever in his first year as a starter. I just hope to see some flashes, really. That's all I can really ask for. Hopefully he just blows me away. But John Lynch needs to get some assets back with this Jimmy G trade. And even though he has his shortcomings, he's 30 years old. He's entering the final year of his contract. There's going to be suitors. Washington is going to be in the mix. I could see 3 teams from the NFC South being in the mix. The teams who miss out on Russ, Deshaun, Aaron Rodgers, they're going to be in the mix too. And, for now, I think it's just a big, big opportunity missed. We were minutes away from our second Super Bowl berth in 3 years, and now we're getting a new era of Niner football.
Jack, you want to take it?
That made me so sad. I feel so bad for you.
I'm not... No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I felt a little bit bad. Yeah.
Why do you not feel sad? Like...
Well, okay. Well, no, I'll let you go first.
You're the one that's backed Jimmy Garoppolo all season, and you
defended
him after he lost this game.
I'll wait for you to go, and then I'll say my thoughts. Because this was the game I was more excited for, and this was the game I actually liked more and took way more takeaways from. But
yeah, I'll just say it's no secret. I'm the lowest on Jimmy Garoppolo out of all 3 of us, and it's funny enough when his team does not give him like 200 yards rushing in the playoffs or allowing like single-digit points, they lose. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. What? That's it. Okay.
What do you mean? What?
Well, yeah. No, okay. Well,
how about the Bengals? He didn't put up a touchdown.
Give some shout-outs to the Rams.
And they won. The last time in the NFC Championship game against the Packers, they rushed for like 1,000 yards and they won. The wild card game this year, he didn't do anything really that impressive. He almost tried to give the game away as well, but they won because they were able to run the ball and because their defense stopped Dak. Like, how many playoff games has he legitimately won? Has
Zero.
he won?
0.
0. So that's all I'm gonna say. I guess respect for sticking with it, and he at least got them into the spots. He made some throws down the stretch of this season that I was applauding him for those as well, especially Week 18 against the Rams. That one I will give him credit for. And if you want to consider that one a playoff game, go ahead, and he can have one playoff game won to my book. But for this Niners squad, definitely tons of respect for what they've done this year. They proved me wrong. Midseason, I was out on Kyle Shanahan. I was kind of down in the dumps about the way he'd been using his players. I thought he'd been figured out schematically. I didn't really see a head coach when I was looking at Kyle Shanahan, and he brought this team to the NFC Championship game. The defense, D'Amico Ryans, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner playing well, patching together a secondary that was able to shut down Aaron Rodgers. Like, this 49ers team went way further than I think they should have, and I think they're setting themselves up in a good spot as long as Trey Lance progresses as we think he should and he will. The 49ers team is a good spot. I want to focus on the Rams because I think the Rams this playoffs, while they've been up and down, have been maybe the most impressive team to me because they've been getting it done in basically every single way. Against Cardinals, they got it done, on the ground.
All three facets.
This week, they got it done, I think, with the defense. They've been stopping the run at a high clip. They stopped, I would say, probably the best rushing attack in the playoffs so far with the 49ers. And last game against the Bucs, they were able to limit Tom Brady enough. And Matt Stafford went toe-to-toe with him. Like, they've won every single way, and they're going into the Super Bowl, I think, the most prepared out of any of the playoff teams that could have gotten to the Super Bowl this week. I think they're the most prepared because they faced every kind of team. They've won in every kind of way, and they've almost lost, I think, the most out of any of the teams. So I'm really impressed with what the Rams have done this playoffs, and I think they're in a great position to take on the Bengals.
Right, Anish, before you get into what you want to say, I posed this question last week, but will that win over the Bucs make them stronger, or will they falter? And I definitely think it made them stronger. They were facing a 17-7 deficit, and in the fourth quarter, they came back. They had the resilience. They knew that they could, face that scenario and win. So I guess they're a very strong team.
All right, so I'm gonna get into my thought. It's not gonna be hopefully not as long as Srikar's. But first of all, Jack, I know you were wrong about the Kyle Shanahan start, but I'll give you credit because I was watching or listening to a couple of old episodes on my way back from the gym, and you actually said the Niners were a dark horse contender for the Super Bowl back in the offseason.
did.
He did.
Kudos to you. There you go.
And look at me.
I'll save you.
This is what you call like learning from your mistakes throughout the season. Because the entire offseason, I was pounding that the Rams are going to win the division, but the Niners will go further. And I think having the ability to switch that up and realize when not to stick with a prediction you don't believe in anymore. It was a very tempting thing to do, to say I think I'm going to be right preseason, stick with the Niners in this one, but I don't know. I think that's good quality to have, and I'm glad I switched to the Rams.
It was the same thing for me with the Rams being the Super Bowl pick, and I switched to Brady. I was just like, I can't bet. Like, I've been saying Rams, but I can't bet against Tom. But same thing kind of happened here. But so to start off, I'm gonna say one thing about Jimmy Garoppolo, because as soon as the game ended, and I was just seeing Niner fans just absolutely, hammered Jimmy Garoppolo, I had to defend him like really quick because, okay. Like, let's just take his 4-year career with SF, okay? Like, this is a guy who came in to a 1-10 team who had coaches like Jim Tomsula, Chip Kelly went 2-4 team, Tomsula 5-11, Kaepernick 8-8, and obviously had the whole thing with the being blackballed by the NFL, all that stuff, right? All that unnecessary drama that just hampered the 49ers. He comes into that roster, okay? And it's crazy because his first play was a touchdown pass. I know it was a meaningless game, but
It wasn't first play, first drive. Though.
Sorry, first drive, yeah. But, Niner fans must have, because, Jack and I, we're not Niner fans, but we're in the area, right? Like, we see how Niner fans react to that stuff. And just seeing that, right, it must have given you guys hope. And then he wins 5 straight, right? Obviously, he tore his ACL the next year. But his first full year as a Niner starter, what did he do? He went to the Super Bowl, and he had a 20-10 lead. Look, I know he's had his downs. He's not that talented. He lacks, again, I've said this 1,000 times. When he's on the run, I get scared too. And, aside from, adjusting with his slides and seeing hot zones, that's like literally all he can do. Look, I just have to give credit to him for what he's done for this Niners franchise, right? Like he at least made you guys relevant in the NFC. You have to give some
you gotta watch your wording though, because he didn't make them relevant.
Like, okay, he didn't, but I have to give him some credit when he because in certain
he was a part of the relevancy.
Yeah,
he was honestly a face of the relevancy because he's a quarterback. But like, let's not give him credit for something he did not do. He did not make this 49ers team relevant.
Partially he did.
Partially did. He had 27 touchdowns in 2019 to only like 13.
That's a product of the offense. Kyle Shanahan is what made this team relevant.
Well, Kyle Shanahan was also 1-10 that first year, and he's also like 13 games under 500 without Jimmy Garoppolo. So, like,
but like that's not. I don't think
that's a
like,
number that I can't. That's a number that I cannot. I cannot refute that number right now until we see a full year without him. And I don't even know if he's fully out yet. I want to see. Like, I'm pretty sure he is. Like, you know.
I'm not saying that Jimmy Garoppolo isn't an upgrade over C.J. Beathard and Nick Mullins and all the other cruddy quarterbacks the Niners have had behind him. But like, he did not make them relevant. He didn't bring them to a Super Bowl. He
was part of it.
It was him, Kyle, and John.
My whole point was that Niner fans have constantly bashed him.
You can respect what he has done for the Niners franchise.
Yeah, of course, you have.
But you can still be down on him as a quarterback. That's what I'm seeing from Niners fans.
But that's the thing.
Jimmy. I wish you were never the Niners quarterback. It was Jimmy Garoppolo just is not a good quarterback, and I don't think that's a lie.
That's kind of the angle I was taking this season.
No, I
could be fair. I mean,
look, okay, hold on. Jimmy Garoppolo has had his good moments and he's had his bad moments.
As has every quarterback in the league.
Okay, but his bad moments are horrendous. They're awful.
He's got the car. Okay. So would you?
My whole point was not about just Jimmy G. I just wanted to say that Niner fans should respect him for what he's done. 2 NFC championships in 4 years is still something that he should be credited for, not fully, but every quarterback in any game gets credit for a win and blame for a loss. And that's what's happening right now, right? I feel like people are still talking about more Jimmy G's pick than, we are talking about how the run game, as you mentioned, 20 carries for 50 yards. That's horrendous, right? And in the drive where you need it most, on 3 straight plays, the offensive line got completely manhandled by the Rams defensive line. Yes, Jimmy G had a bad pick, but come on, where was they gave up. They literally got pushed back in less than a second.
On that pick, he should have taken the sack.
Of course. I agree. That was a bad pick. But I mean, at least try and give him more than half a second to throw.
That's true.
But here's my thing with the overall with the Niners, right? I loved this season more than I loved the 2019 one, because to go from 3-5 and to have, I thought the wins in the playoffs that they had were more impressive than the wins they had that 2019 run, right?
100%.
The Dallas game on the road, right? It was still a really, this was a really good Dallas team that I think we're underrating, and they outplayed them in every facet. So they outplayed the Cowboys in all 3 facets of the game, and then again, the Packers won. This is supposed to be the best roster he's had. This is best chance at a ring, and they again completely outplayed them. All 3 stages of the game. Special teams obviously, helped them out. So this team was really resilient. And before I get on the Rams, sorry, I want to touch on Deebo Samuel. I mean, this guy, like, oh my God. I mean, to see him, 2 out of 3 years he's been in the league just in tears, kind of ended like that. And both years he gave it his all. It really sucks as, a guy who has been watching him since like March of 2019, and now he's become a household name. It's so cool to see. Like, this is a star that the Niners have had, and he's going to get paid.
Gonna get that bank.
I'm so happy for him. And, obviously for those who have watched the pod, you guys know, how far, I guess, we've come with Deebo Samuel as well, I guess, as a podcast. And just for him to give it all out there and for him to just, really elevate his game this year. Even I didn't see it coming, and I'm his biggest fan, so that was really cool. But now to get to the Rams, the little happy time. I just want to hear Srikar say it so we can get it on recording. Which is the better coach?
You heard it. It's still close, but
he didn't even they were.
Wait, I know. Okay, well, no time. Okay, I don't.
Levels of okay.
No timeouts. Down 10. He had a really.
Why do you think he had drives?
No, I agree.
He wasted all 3 of them.
Fourth quarter. What did the offense do? The offense
exactly
was great
Here's
in the fourth quarter.
I'd listen to an argument that says Kyle and McVay are equal. But I will say McVay is better.
Yes.
Just because when it mattered most.
I won't listen to the equal one. But look, in the fourth
I'll
quarter,
listen to
down
you.
10, the offense was really good. Really, really good. They had, 13 straight unanswered points, right? And so that was 3 really solid drives. And I thought Stafford played a hell of a game. Again, he had a boneheaded red zone pick. But in the fourth quarter, I think he's 14 or 15 touchdowns, no picks. Or he was 13-0 in the regular season. I think he's a little bit more, like 15 or 16-0.
Hard.
So that's really, really impressive. And I was actually listening to an earlier episode, Jack, where you said you were doubting Stafford in the playoffs. I think he's proved everybody wrong.
I mean, we all were, I think.
We all were.
I'm not wrong to think that.
He's proved everybody wrong in that. I think he's honestly had the most impressive postseason. Like, I mean, I know everyone's talking about Joe Burrow, but like statistically and just even for narrative wise, Stafford's right up there. And Cooper Kupp I'm going to argue he's the best receiver in football.
Most reliable.
I could make the argument because look, what he does beyond just catching too, like run blocking,
he's one.
and just him being a decoy. I mean, look at what Odell is being able to do. And I know people are gonna bring up like, oh, he's great, and as a Browns fan, it sounds like I'm trying to defend it. But just look, if you watch the game, right, Odell is getting single coverage every time because the attention that they give to Cooper Kupp is absurd. There was a play where Odell caught it on third down over the middle. I forget the linebacker. I think it was Greenlaw, I'm pretty sure, or Al Shahir. They had his back turned to Odell just so they could have 3 people stare at Kupp running. I think it was a type of corner route. It was like an option. So the amount of attention that this guy brings and the importance of him to this offense is just, I don't think anyone is more important to an offense right now than Cooper Kupp is in terms of skill position, not quarterback, but I think he brings just so much to this Rams offense. And, I'm not going to sit up here and say I thought he was, crazy elite last year. I mean, you guys all know I loved him, but I didn't see this type of season from him. And for him to go out there and do this is his first Super Bowl. He didn't play in the last one. I'm so happy for him. And for the Rams, this just goes to show, like, they, despite buying in and all these players that everyone had questions about, right? Like, that's also credit to McVay, right? To bring in this collective unit of all these guys that they brought in 1 year. For him to do that and bring them in as a collective unit and, win 3 playoff games in an amazing fashion. They got, really unluckily dealt with those 4 fumbles. I think some of them were just, just like bad luck. Like that wasn't on scheme or anything like that. Bad snap and, Akers dropping it twice, who hadn't played an entire regular season. So kind of bound to happen. I think the Rams have had the most impressive postseason, and again, kudos to everybody on that team for really just stepping up. And Aaron Donald, that moment, that not strip sack really, but like that pressure to, we all saw him speaking really passionately on the sideline. That was his defining moment of his career. That's really the first time I can say in the postseason, maybe against, Seattle when he had that forced fumble on Russ, but like, this is a huge moment, and he hadn't done really anything major that entire game. But 3rd and 13, it was like, and he just absolutely mauled. I think it was like Brunskill and Alex Mack. He got there and caused the game-winning play. So,
I think like the 2 best players for the Rams, I would argue, are this season at least, and I don't know if you want to make the argument the entire time, Donald and Kupp, and they showed up in very different ways, but they almost had, the same level of impact on the game. Kupp was there every single third down. Every time they needed to play, he was right there. Scored 2 touchdowns, was open all the time, was a decoy when he wasn't. And Aaron Donald, who, he kept chugging along, was occupying space, breaking down the offensive lineman all the way to the end of the game, and then he makes that one big play, and, the same level of impact. It's like, this Rams team, I think they've got a ton of fight. Like, the Niners, I would say probably the most fight, them and the Bengals, that I've seen this postseason, probably from any team I've seen in the NFL this year. But the Rams have this great combination of elite talent, like an elite roster, but also, the fight, the physicality to sustain 4 quarters of a game and come out and make the Super Bowl. And now they face the Bengals. Like, this is going to be a fantastic matchup. I'm excited to be in LA, at a time where not only is the Super Bowl being held in LA, but the Rams are in it. This is going to be fantastic. Hats off to the Rams. They've had a very unique season, but I've got a ton of respect for it, and they've wowed me over these last 3 weeks.
Quick 2 points. One, this was the first game that McVay had come back down 10 in the fourth quarter. So this is maybe a sign of things to come. And also for Kupp, right? He had a terrible drop. Like, I can't deny it. That was a house call.
Yep.
And for him to, after that, still go out there and still catch every ball that they needed him to, he didn't let them that face him at all.
It's 2 weeks in a row.
It covered the drop up.
I think
It's 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Because of the fumble last week.
Fumble, right? Yeah. So this just goes to show the Rams culture that this team has, and this has come from 2017 when McVay came in. I believe they were on Hard Knocks that year too. I remember watching it. Something was different about him, and for him to be so young, right? A 32-year-old head coach. That just never sat well with a lot of people, and even me when I first saw it. But he won me over, the last couple of years. And quick also shout out to Robert Woods, who is nicknamed Bobby Trees by just his nickname. He's not going to be there. He was there the 18 Super Bowl when Kupp wasn't. There was a really cool moment. I don't know if you guys saw them embracing each other. It just goes to show how well this team has orchestrated itself, right? Despite bringing all these new guys, big names, Jalen Ramsey, Von Miller, and for them to still kind of Odell Beckham, and for them to still do this, incredible.
I think I don't remember where I saw it today, but I think the Rams are the 4th most homegrown team in the NFL. Like, we talk about all the big names they've brought in, but this team, I think they have the most drafted players play in the NFL this year. Like, it started
so
from the inside.
To me.
They've supplemented the way they've drafted with their big trade. So it's like, it's just a great combination. The Rams have had, I think, well, first of all, they better thank their lucky stars that they made the Super Bowl, because you can't go all in, not have a first-round pick for like 4 years and not make the Super Bowl. So, I'm sure they're thanking their lucky stars. But
they made 2 in the last 3 football seasons, or 4 football seasons. Sorry. 4.
Yeah, so, it's fantastic. The Rams are a very successful team. It sucks that Robert Woods doesn't get to be playing, but he got to play the last one, and I guess it just makes sense that Kupp gets to play this one. He doesn't. But how about Odell Beckham Jr. going over to comfort Deebo Samuel? How does that make you feel?
How does that make me feel?
How does that make Anish feel?
Yeah.
Dude, it was so ironic because it's like...
And wait, it was Odell the problem in Cleveland?
Yes. I still think he was. I still think he was. He never wanted to be there. He never showed up to OT. Again, this is like a whole nother, I think, segment. But yeah, he never showed up to OT.
Maybe because the Browns were,
I just think he never wanted to be in Cleveland. Like it clearly, again, to not show up to OTAs all 3 years, right? I know he had the ACL for one of them, but like still, again, what was it? Like, he would drop passes and just walk back to the sideline. He would stand still, be frustrated. He's not a cancer, locker room cancer. The players loved him. I just don't think he wanted to be there. And you can see his passion and how excited he's been with this LA team, right? Especially with Von Miller kind of recruiting him. I think this was a team that was like, okay, now we got Odell, we got this. Like, I don't think he was the problem. I just thought he was a problem. Because even in the post I mentioned as soon as he requested out, I said both. It's on both. It's been on both Baker and Odell. So to see him come for Deebo, all the athletes love it. All the Hall of Famers were like Deion Sanders and even Shannon Sharp were saying that. I just love how Deebo's now a household name, which makes me a little bit mad though, because now I can't say that oh, that's my guy.
We'll remember.
Yeah, I'm really hoping people remember that. Yeah, I know you guys will, but just a little bit sucks now that
I think it's gotten to a point where you haven't let people forget.
Oh my
people
God,
don't forget it. Yeah,
I have to remind. There was a guy on TikTok who was like, if it was Deebo Samuel against the world, I would be with him. And I saw a bunch of comments were like, nah, I'm Deebo's #1 fan. And I'm like, all right, because this is I've genuinely been with since the jump, but
we'll get to see him play in the Pro Bowl though, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
You know what? I'm kind of now that the Rams made the playoffs, though, I was really hoping to see Cooper Kupp in the skills challenge. I feel like he would have been the ultimate Pro Bowl skills challenge player.
By the way, I hate this is a discussion for another. I don't like the Pro Bowl, but
no one likes the Pro Bowl. That's why they give us.
Don't just go make the teams. You don't need to have a game, and also big mistake moving it out of Hawaii, but that's it.
I think the best way to do the Pro Bowl is you don't play an actual football game. You just do the skills challenges. You make the teams. You say, okay, you're an all-star.
I'd love a quarterback showdown. That would be pretty cool. Something in that sort of thing.
Yeah, but I still love the moment. There were a couple good moments, like the Jeff Saturday to Peyton Manning handoff. I thought that was.
Oh, that was a long time ago, though.
Name a good moment since. Like,
The Kobe tribute mid game.
okay, that's pretty.
Okay, that
You
was
To create a good moment out of.
You asked
Like,
for what I gave you one, but yeah, I know. The Pro Bowl's had its ups and downs, but
other
it's
than
because
like
it's
Jamal
not
Adams
competitive.
chucking the
Like,
Patriots guy and all the skills, like it all happens on that skills challenge field. Like that's the entertaining part.
Jarvis
That's the part-
Landry dodgeball when he went 1v4
Yes.
and
Yeah.
absolutely dominated. Best dodgeball player ever.
No, that's the part we want to see, but we don't want to see the football or the actual football game part of the Pro Bowl. Let's get quickly to the last two topics we're gonna hit. We spent a lot of time on the conference championship games. Is Tom Brady retired? Like, are we gonna figure that out? Hey y'all, this is Editor Jack editing this the day after we recorded, and of course, Tom Brady retires officially the morning after we talk about how he's not officially retired. So we'll be back next week to talk about Brady. For now, we'll get to the coaches that we were gonna talk about at the end of the episode. Just of course, that's how it works. Yeah. A couple minutes. Let's just talk about the coaches. This week we've had Nathaniel Hackett hired by the Broncos, hoping to bring Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers along with him. Joe Shane and Brian Dable to the New York Giants. Package deal from Buffalo. Another package deal. We had Brad Ziegler and Josh McDaniels to the Las Vegas Raiders as coach and GM. Each of you pick one and talk about why you like it or don't like it.
Oh, can I talk? Okay, I'll make it quick. I really love the Dable hire. I think it's my favorite hire of the process so far, and nobody really knows what we're gonna get from him because it's gonna be assistant running the whole operation. But he worked under Saban, he worked under Belichick. He took over as Buffalo's OC, and look what he did with Josh Allen. And if anybody's going to fix Daniel Jones, or make sure his replacement gets the knowledge he needs, it's gonna be Dable. I think it's going to be him. With Denver, Nathaniel Hackett, I'll say it's interesting. I'm not very high on it. He comes from the Packers. They, of course, the Broncos are in play for Aaron Rodgers, and they should be the overwhelming favorite here. They got 4 top 75 picks, plus Hackett on their side. But here's the thing. He didn't run the offense in Green Bay, for one. And he worked with the Bills and Jags before this, and both of those offenses were not very good. And obviously quarterback play wasn't as good too, but I think it's pretty concerning. But I don't think there's been a tremendously bad hire yet. So I mean that's good. There's nothing on the level of an Urban Meyer, for example. But I love the Dable hire, and Hackett I think is the one that I'm least high on to this point.
Okay, yeah, I'll touch on. I want to touch on the McDaniels Ziegler one. I liked Ziegler. McDaniels, I'm actually not the biggest fan of. I know Jack and I kind of disagreed on it a little bit. I just think McDaniels, again, he had an 8-8 stint with Denver, not Oakland. Sorry, guys, when I texted you guys about that. But yeah, I just think the Belichick tree hasn't really been that successful. And the two guys that have, it's been Flores and Bill O'Brien, and they've got 2 wins to show for it in the playoffs, and both were by Bill O'Brien. So I'm a little bit skeptical on that. I just think the Raiders players also wanted Bisaccia, and there was a report also that said they wanted him to be the coach. So I'm not the biggest fan of that. But as Srikar mentioned, I love the Dable hire. Hackett, hopefully he can. He's young, so hopefully let's see what he does with Denver. But you got to go at least 4-8 in the next 2 years in the division. 4-8 versus Herbert, Carr, and Mahomes. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, the part about McDaniels, and I totally agree, the Patriot way has not worked outside of New England, but this is its best shot because you're bringing over a coach and a GM. That's the reason. If it was just McDaniels, I'm not sure how much I would like it. Ziegler just by itself, I think that'd be fine. But like the fact that now McDaniels can run his offense and run the team the way he wants it with a GM that's going to back it up on the personnel side, I think that's just it's a matchup that intrigues me a lot more than if it would just been one or the other.
Pat's drafting though has been.
Yeah, I know, but
yeah, just about to mention.
We don't know how much that is Belichick, because he wants his guys to fill their one roles, and they've been successful. That's all I'm going to say. Shane, Dable, home runs. They're fantastic hires, and you're right. Hackett, we're gonna see. I think he needs the right quarterback. If he doesn't get it, he probably fizzles out, and I'm not sure how high I'd be on that one. But if Rodgers comes, then that's the hire. Like, you're doing that to incentivize Rodgers to come to Denver. Right under the margin, we got like less than a minute left on our Zoom link. So thank you guys so much for listening to the episode. We hope you appreciated Conference Championship Weekend. We'll be back next week with not exactly sure what we're going to talk about yet, but it'll be, well, I guess, no, next week will be the Super Bowl preview. So, right?
Yeah.
I guess so, yeah. Well, yeah, next week you're going to get Super Bowl preview, so we hope you're ready for that one. And we're definitely ready for the Super Bowl. Bengals.
Scouting content on the way.
It's going to be a fun one. we're gonna run out of here. We've been the Culture Podcast. We see you next time.